Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to focus on interpreting forms of quadratic functions as well as solving quadratic equations by completing the square in the word problems. First question asks which of the functions could be represented by the graph? Explain. So you do not know the scale of either axis. So to eliminate functions on, given choices here, consider the characteristics of graph and information provided by the form of each function. The graph appears to be a parabola that opens down, which means the function has a maximum value. The vertex of the graph is in the first quadrant, and also the two x-intercepts are positive. So given those things, we're going to continue to look at these choices. The first choice has a vertex of -4, comma, 8. As you can see, h and k value of your vertex form. However, the vertex -4, 8 of the graph of f is in the second quadrant, so the graph does not represent f of x. In the next g of x, we have vertex 5, 9, and this vertex is in the first quadrant. So the graph could represent g of x just by looking at the given graph and the equation of g of x. I'm going to come back to this, so we're going to leave that open. In the next one, m of x, the graph of m has two positive x-intercepts. Those x-intercepts are 3 and 12. However, its graph opens up because a is greater than 0. There's no negative in the front, which means m has a minimum value, not a maximum. So the graph does not represent m of x. Our next graph is p of x, and this graph also has two positive x-intercepts, which are +2 and +8, and its graph opens down because a is less than 0. There is a negative right in the front. This means that p has a maximum value and the vertex must be in the first quadrant. Therefore, the graph could represent p of x. I'm just going to go back to our g of x just to show you. By solving the entire g of x equals 0, I want to see where the x-intercepts lie so that I'm sure that my choice is correct. So if you set g of x equals 0, I'm going to move over the 9, which means I have -9 equals negative parenthesis x minus 5 squared. And I'm going to get rid of the negative by dividing by a negative on both sides. So I get +9 equals x minus 5 squared. I want to get rid of that square by square rooting it on both sides. Got rid of the square roots. And then I get x minus 5 is equal to ±3, which means my x values or my x-intercepts are 2 and 8. Therefore, the graph could be represented by g of x, and we can see that my g of x and p of x, they match. Here's a word problem modeling with mathematics. You decide to use chalkboard paint to create chalkboard on a door. You want the chalkboard to cover 6 square feet and to have uniform border as shown in the diagram. Find the width of the border to the nearest inch. So you know the dimensions in feet of the door from the diagram. We can see that the length is 7 feet and then the width is 3 feet. We want to make sure that we have the uniform border, and then that middle part, the green part, is your chalkboard. Now, you know the area in square feet of the chalkboard, and you want it to be 6 square feet. So we're going to use the area formula. A equals length times width, and you want the area to be 6. What I want to do now is to define my length and width. But before I do that, I know there is a uniform border, the width of the border to be x feet from the bottom, from the left, right, top, everywhere around the chalkboard. So I'm going to use that, and I know the length of my door is 7 feet. So if I have the uniform border, x length, x feet, from the bottom and the top, I know that I have to subtract 2x, because x plus x is 2x, from 7. So I'm going to write length is equal to 7 minus 2x. And same thing with the width. Now I'm defining the width, w. I have 3 feet as the width. I have 2 x's on both sides together. So I have to write 3 minus 2x as the width. We're going to multiply the binomials. So 6 is equal to 7 times 3 is 21. Negative 2x times 3 is negative 6x. Negative 2x times 7 is negative 14x, the middle term, so that becomes negative 20x. And then the last one would be positive 4x squared. I wrote that backwards, but that's okay. We're going to solve it and put it in the right form. Now I'm going to subtract 21 from both sides. So I will get negative 15 is equal to 4x squared minus 20x. I'm going to divide everything by 4 to make it easier. So negative 15 over 4, I'm going to leave it just as it is. And then 4 divided by 4 is x squared, and then we have negative 5x. Now I'm going to use completing the square for x squared minus 5x. I'm going to take the b, half it, and then square it, which is negative 5 over 2 squared. I'm going to have to add it onto both sides to make the equal sign be satisfied. So then my right side, just because it's easy, we have a square, perfect square binomial, x minus 5 over 2 squared, if you factor the trinomial right there. And for my left side, I need to simplify. So I'm going to first leave negative 15 over 4 and then simplify that square. So if I give square to both top and bottom, I will get 25 over 4. They are in the same denominator, so now I'm able to add. To simplify a little bit further, you would get 10 over 4 on the left, and then leave the right side as it is. Now I'm going to take the square root on both sides. Square and square root cancels out. I have x minus 5 over 2 equals positive and negative square root of 10 over 4. I add 5 over 2 on both sides. X is equal to 5 over 2 plus minus square root of 10 over 4. And both of them will become approximately 4.08 and 0.92. And here we can reject 4.08 because how can the border be greater than the width of the actual door? That can't be possible. So that's a reject, and we only have one possibility, which is 0.92 feet. Now notice the question asks you find the width of the border to the nearest inch. We need to convert. So we have 0.92 feet. We're going to convert that, and per feet there are 12 inches. So we need to multiply by 12, which we will get 11.04 inches. So the width of the border should be about 11 inches. And that's all for today's lesson. I hope that this made sense. You guys are doing an awesome job. I'll see you in the next lesson.